What's up guys, my name is Ace, and with Christmas finally here, there are a ton of people that are going to be getting Modern Warfare, and therefore, just like every year, I wanted to share my top 10 beginner tips to help you guys get on your feet and get a good start with this game. These tips are primarily designed for people that are just getting their hands on the game for the first time, although some of them are actually good for people that have been playing a little bit of Modern Warfare already. And the first tip that I have for you guys, a lot of people that have been playing the game for a while aren't gonna like that I'm sharing this with you. But if you're just getting into the game for the first time and you want to get a good feel for the game, I do highly recommend trying out one of 4 weapons. These weapons are the Kilo 141 or the M4A1 assault rifle, and if you want to be a bit more aggressive, I would recommend the MP5 or the MP7 SMG. Out of all of these guns, the M4A1 is the most versatile and the easiest gun in the game to use, and like I said, a lot of people are going to be upset that I'm sharing this tip with you guys because it quite simply is the best gun in the game. Having said that, I don't really care too much because if you're brand new to the game, you need all the help that you can get, and therefore those are the top 4 guns that I would currently recommend. Now, of course, I do also encourage you guys to branch out and try other weapons because you might find something that works really well for you that isn't one of those 4 guns. But out of all of the guns in the game, those 4 that I shared with you are the ones that you're most likely to find success with as a beginner player. Moving on to tip number 2, this is headshots. If you guys have been playing Call of Duty in the past, especially for the past several years, headshots really haven't been all that useful. In Modern Warfare though, headshots are much more powerful, and therefore it's absolutely in your best interest in most situations to be trying to land headshots mixed in with body shots. My personal recommendation is try aiming towards the upper chest or even the neck region, and then typically recoil or flinch when you get shot will end up taking you into a headshot, which will almost always reduce the number of shots it takes to kill, and in a game like Modern Warfare, every single shot counts. This brings us to the next tip that I have for you guys, and this is something that is completely new to Call of Duty with Modern Warfare. In this game, you can change your class in the middle of a match. You aren't locked to the classes that you enter the match with, like we've always been in Call of Duty. You can go in, you can edit anything you want. You can change up your attachments on your weapon, you can change up your perks, your equipment, anything you need to change, you can do this on the fly in the middle of a game. And this can often be really useful because if you notice that the enemy team, for instance, is calling in a lot of lethal kill streaks, then it might be in your best interest to switch your tier 1 perk over to cold-blooded. That way those AI controlled streaks won't be able to target you. Additionally, this really helps when you're trying to play around with different attachment setups. The gunsmith in this game is very complicated and there are many attachments to choose from. So if you're trying out a particular attachment and you don't really like how it feels, you can just swap that out for something else in the middle of a game. So this is a feature that you definitely don't want to overlook, especially when you're first getting into the game and you want to mix things up and try new things. This brings us to tip number 4, and this tip is use my aiming drill to practice and warm up. This is going to help a ton for getting a feel for the game, finding the right sensitivity value for you, which by the way, that is all down to personal preference. I am going to leave a link in the description of this video so you can check that out after you're done watching this video. And this will show you exactly how to set up this aiming drill and how exactly it works to help you improve your accuracy and help you improve with winning gunfights. The more you do this drill, the faster you're going to improve as a player in this game. Moving on to the next tip, this is an actual gameplay related tip. Modern Warfare plays quite a bit slower than recent Call of Duty games. So if you're somebody that has been playing Call of Duty in the past several years, you're probably going to need to slow down your playstyle a little bit to adapt to this game. The maps are generally a lot more complex in Modern Warfare compared to what we're used to in recent Call of Duty games, and this means there's lots of different areas you have to be thinking about and covering at any given time. Now, having said this, I also don't encourage you to camp. When you camp or lock down a single building, it's quite easy to do. However, you're not really going to improve much as a player if this is the playstyle that you stick to. The best way to improve is to move around the map, put yourself in a wide variety of situations, so that you end up learning how to deal with a wide variety of situations. If you're one of those players that just sits in the same building the whole game and they have claymores set up, you really only learn how to be good at one particular style of play, and it's a very limited style of play as well. You don't really become a very well-rounded player by doing that, so I do encourage you guys to move around the map, but you do want to be very careful with how you're moving as well. Often moving from one piece of cover to another is going to be the best option. Don't just sprint around like a headless chicken, but also, like I said, don't just camp in a building. Now, speaking of moving around the map, this brings us to the next tip, and this is one of the most common mistakes that beginners always make in Call of Duty, and this is not centering properly. And what I mean by centering is always ensuring that as you're approaching situations and as you're moving around the map, the center of your screen is always going to be in the location where you expect enemies to be coming from. A nice thing about Modern Warfare as well that previous Call of Duty games didn't have is you actually have a dot in the middle of your screen, in the middle of your hipfire markers. So a big focus as you're moving around the map is ensuring that that dot is in a place where you expect to run into an enemy. So if you're coming around a corner, have that dot at like chest height as you approach that corner. A ton of beginner players have a really bad habit of constantly aiming too low or too high, or just aiming at an area where an enemy literally can't be coming from or they can't be. You always want to try and keep those crosshairs up and ready for a fight. That way, when you do run into an enemy that you maybe didn't expect, you're already on target, so all you have to do is really just pull that trigger. This brings us to the next tip, and this is a big part of Modern Warfare's gameplay. Pay really close attention to footstep audio. I highly encourage you guys to use a headset or at the very least some earbuds or something like that while playing this game, because footsteps are pretty loud in this game, and the only way to reduce footstep audio is with a field upgrade, which means nobody has permanent dead silence. Most people are going to be making footstep sounds as they move around the map, and you always want to be paying close attention to the audio because you'll often hear an enemy approach you that you otherwise wouldn't have expected. Now, when it comes to the best audio setting for hearing footsteps, in my opinion, based on my experience, is the Boost High option. If you go to your audio settings, in the audio mix, I would recommend Boost High. I feel like this helps quite a bit for distinguishing footsteps from other audio that's going on around the map, and therefore this is excellent for hearing those enemies approach. Now, you not only have to be aware of enemy footsteps, you definitely have to be aware of your own footstep audio as well. And this is actually one of the reasons that Modern Warfare plays slower than previous Call of Duty games, is enemies can hear you coming too, especially if you're sprinting. So you really want to limit the times where you're sprinting, or just know when you are sprinting, it's very likely that an enemy player could hear you coming and just be ready for you. And on that note, this brings us to the next tip, which is the best field upgrade in Modern Warfare is Dead Silence. And I highly encourage you to choose this. Now, for those of you guys that don't know, if you're brand new to the game, field upgrades are things that automatically charge up throughout the match, although as you get kills, they will end up charging faster. Then, once those are fully charged, you can activate them, and in the case of Dead Silence, you will have pretty much completely silent footsteps for a short period of time, and every time you get a kill while that's active, it will reset the timer on that so you can continue to keep your Dead Silence active. Since footsteps are so powerful in this game, and so many people rely on hearing footsteps so much, using that Dead Silence field upgrade can be a lifesaver, especially if you want to be a bit aggressive and push towards the enemy players. So as a result, since it is in your best interest to be moving around the map, like I said earlier, Dead Silence is absolutely the best choice for the field upgrade. Moving on to number 9, and something else that is brand new with Modern Warfare that we've never seen in Call of Duty before, is we have doors that you actually interact with in this game. And most people pick up pretty quickly. If you sprint through a door, it will open very quickly, but it also makes a lot of noise when you do that. Or if you just walk up to a door, you can hold square and it will open the door much quieter. The tip I have for you today is an even quieter method for opening a door. All you have to do is aim down sight with your weapon and then walk into the door. This will very slowly peek your way into the door, and you can use this to your advantage in a lot of situations where you want to be more stealthy. And finally, this leaves us with one last beginner tip that I have in this video, and this has to do with the mounting mechanic. Now, in order to mount to a surface in this game, you can mount to horizontal or vertical surfaces. By default, all you have to do is aim down sight and then press the button that prompts you to mount. On PS4 at least, this is going to be circle. And when you do this, the main benefit is it practically eliminates your recoil with most weapons. You have very little recoil when mounted to surfaces, and therefore mounting is a very valuable tool if you want to lock down a lane, or if you're going to be challenging somebody at longer ranges and you just want that added precision. However, it's not all upsides, and you do really have to be selective as to when you decide to mount. The biggest thing to learn with this is when you mount to surfaces, you're actually exposing a very good portion of your body. It might seem like you're just barely peeking around the corner and just showing off your gun and part of your head, but in reality, especially when you mount to a vertical surface, pretty much half of your entire body is still exposed. And when you're mounted, you're locked into place, so you're actually a very easy target to shoot at. This is why I absolutely don't recommend that you just sit mounted in one spot for a long period of time. It's more so a tool that I recommend using very selectively. If you run into that situation where you want that precision and you know an enemy's going to be there or they're going to be coming very soon, then yeah, absolutely feel free to mount to that surface. However, I wouldn't recommend lingering in a mounted position. But with that, that's going to wrap it up for my top 10 beginner tips for Modern Warfare. If you guys are looking to better understand Modern Warfare as well as much more advanced tips, be sure to subscribe to the channel because that's exactly what I do around here. I break things down so that you understand exactly how the game mechanics work in order to help you improve. Also, if you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated. And don't forget to check out my aiming drill, which I will leave linked in the description. I'll talk to you guys next time.